we're joined by Jessy Miele, ton of experience in the sport of MMA. She's held multiple championships as well throughout her run. Seems to be staying busy nowadays with a whole bunch of fun stuff, it looks like. How's it going, Jessy?
It's going good. Yeah, it's a nice day out. Lucky today it's like 85 in Connecticut and it's gonna be like 50 next week.
Yeah, we're in New Jersey, so the weather's getting nice. Northeast seems to be heating up. It's a good thing, right? It looks like because we're so used to the cold, right? It's good to get a little bit of warmth sometimes.
Yeah.
How long have you been out there in Connecticut? You've been there your whole life, or like what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I grew up in Connecticut. I was in
Okay.
California for a little bit. For school, I was in Massachusetts, but mainly Connecticut. Yeah.
And it's funny because like living in New Jersey, like I always hear slander, not from me, but like I always hear slander about Connecticut. Like, is it like, can you sort of like tell us, unfold the current, like what's Connecticut like? Is it a fun place to be? Like, I'm always hearing all this crap about Connecticut, how it's boring, this, that, and the other. Again, not from me, but like as a fellow Connecticut person, someone I'm sure knows the area. Do they have a lot to offer out there? Is it a nice place?
We call it dirty Jersey, so I don't know what you're talking about over there in Jersey. But no,
Oh, okay.
no, it's just a small state. It's about an hour, maybe an hour and 20 from like
Yeah.
one side to the other without traffic or so. So for me, it's and we don't have waves. I'm a surfer, and it sucks because it's like, come on, we don't have any waves. We have to go out of state to surf because it's just it doesn't work out too well for that type of style. But it's a great community from a martial arts perspective. I mean, I'm jumping around at different gyms all the time to train with different people because you can't really get everything you need in one spot. Typically, for me at least as a female, it's nice to spar with other girls, boxers. So I'm kind of all over the place. So I like that. At least I can get to know everybody around. So it's cool like that.
As an MMA fighter, rather, do you think it's a good place to be, Connecticut? Is it a good place to, sort of get to go to, good gyms, get some good sparring partners, people to train with? Would you say it's a good place as far as the state of MMA? Because there's some good fighters out of there.
Yeah, definitely is. It's hard. I feel like a lot of them are hidden. It's like my coach, for example, has got a amazing background. He's really awesome, but from an internet standpoint, he's not like all about being on social media. Like he's like, I need to teach all the time. I'm always in the gym. I'm always outside. But it's like, yeah, but people don't know you're here. So that kind of thing. I feel like there's a couple hidden gems that people just don't know about. So it's definitely good for people if you're visiting to like talk to people in the community, not just Google it at all times.
Yeah, and now that we live in the whole social media age, right? Maybe some of these old school guys that opened up gyms years ago, maybe they're not sort of acclimated to that, and you can't blame them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even more for him. It's more like he's constantly just teaching in the gym and
I see.
outside, just not on the computer as much.
I see. Yeah. And I see you be you still get the work in, right? You still train hard. It's over at IMB Academy, right? Is that like sort of your go-to place to work out and train?
Yeah, so I've been at IMB. It's IMBCT, IMB Academy from Connecticut. They're a chain, so there's a couple of them, but this one, I mean,
Okay.
they're all different coaches and teams. But yeah, I've been here since I started. But for me, I also train Underdog MMA and
Yeah.
CrossFit affiliate. It's called Triton Athletics, just because I got to get a little bit of everything. And that's the thing about Connecticut. We don't have at IMB, we don't have like the CrossFit gym in there or the lift. We have stuff to lift, but like we don't have everything in one spot. Some gyms do, but like I like the fact that I'm in different places. I get different elements, different people, but IMB is my go-to. Yes.
As far as when you were, the Bellator run, the fight after that, I guess in that time span, is that where you were training or you were sort of moving around?
Yeah, I was all over still. I've been at the three gyms pretty much for the last maybe eight years from my life. And like I said, IMB has a great people and everything, but sometimes I'll go to Underdog for the wrestling class, and they've got the high school wrestlers in there. Some of the kids are coming back. They got the wrestling coaches in there. So you get like 30 people versus for me to work with, and those high school wrestlers. So my weight class is 145. So those guys are nasty, but they're like 145ers, and I need that kind of style, kicking my ass. So it's nice once in a while to have a little different element there. But then you get your and the females. I don't really have many females. There's like one or two. So it's nice to be able to like kind of jump around and find some girls to spar with and get a different feel there.
Definitely. Now, look, I mean, if you're still training, is the hunger still there to get in there and compete one day, or is just the training? How's that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, so injury wise, I'm done with injuries. I don't have any at the moment, not gonna wood. But that
Good.
was kind of part
Yeah.
of it. It's just kind of when you get injured now, you gotta. I mean, well, in general, it's all about like recovery. I feel like the older I get, the more I've been focused on the recovery a lot more often. My coach has always been telling me to do yoga since the day I started. He's a yoga instructor, Chris Smith. Man, I should have listened to you a little earlier. So I'm doing a lot of that. Just paying more attention to it. and not just like jumping in and not worrying about it all the time. So that's been a priority for me. But I have a jujitsu. I'm gonna probably end up doing some jujitsu tournaments and some stuff coming up in May, just to keep active. And yeah, I'm not retired yet or anything, I guess you could say.
Was there people that thought you were retired, maybe like people asking you?
Not necessarily. I think one or two people asked me if I could take a fight like next month, but
Okay.
that's another thing that for me as a female athlete, it's been like there's a lot of time where it was just like, hey, can you be ready in like 3 weeks? So it would be nice to have like a good 8-week camp for once.
For sure. And, maybe for somebody that didn't know, right, what was going on, the injuries, where it was, how can you talk a little bit about that, right? Obviously a couple of years off, dealing with those injuries, which I would imagine that's what was the cause of it. Sort of what was that like, and how do you feel now? How have you been able to sort of progress?
So it's not, I mean, I think I guess at the end of the day, like most injuries, you got to work through them all. Broken bones are another thing. I had broken my nose. That's a one thing. I mean, you could suck it up and get punched in the face again, but like,
Mhm.
you're sparring and you're getting punched. Like I'm not just like I broke my nose and I'm going on a bicycle. Like I literally need to get like exchange punches every day. So to
Yeah.
heal, I mean, the drilling is so overlooked for MMA fighters. It's like when you have a fight and you're training for that fight. So it's like the drilling, I've definitely upped my drilling and just going back to like all the stuff that when you're fighting, you're not really working on because you're always like focusing on that fight, like I was saying before. So I feel great. I feel really good by taking a little bit of more time off of getting, punched in the face. Realistically, I do all the punching and I'm slipping my head and I'm not getting hit in the face. But I mean, we all wish we could have that all times. But that's the thing. Once you have a broken nose or something in the face, it's really not easy to avoid getting hit there,
If I were to give you on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel in terms of health, all that, right? As far as injuries and all that, how would you say you feel right now?
Oh yeah, I'm probably like a 9.5. Like if you ask, I'd say like, I mean, okay, like 8. If you say, hey, can you jump into a fight tomorrow? I mean,
Right.
I'd want to prepare a little bit more
Mhm.
with that, but yeah, I'd say like 8.5.
Good. And I guess that leads me to ask you, which, and I'm glad to see that you're doing well. That's always a good thing. When do you have a return in mind? Obviously, we're not asking for a day to put you on the spot, but like, are you trying to get in there this year, maybe next year? Like, what are you looking at right now, sort of, as far as a return?
I don't have a specific timeline right now. I
Yeah.
have some of my guys in the gym. They're actually fighting at the end of the month too.
Mhm.
So helping them out, getting back in there to like be a great training partner is gonna be like what I'm doing at the moment. That's my goal. And then from there, I can focus back on myself a little more. But it's nice to see other people getting like the shot and getting up there to fight now, and me being like just a really good training partner for them.
Absolutely. Now, look, as someone, I've followed your career now for some time. I'm a fan. And, I'm curious because things maybe didn't go your way post pandemic, right? But I'm curious, you got a whole pandemic, it shuts off the world, right? Do you feel like when something like that happens, did it kill any momentum for you? Did it hurt you in any way? Do you feel like it affected the trajectory you were on, maybe?
Sorry, yeah, I'm outside. I don't know if you could tell, but it's nice out. Oh, there was something going on in the background. My bad.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I think that I first of all, I feel like during the pandemic, so fighting in Bellator with no crowd was interesting. But I feel like my Julia Budd fight was probably one of the best fights of my life, even though I came out with a loss.
It was a good fight. Yeah.
I was able to control what I wanted to happen a little bit more often throughout the fight. And yeah, when I let her she got a good shot right to the solar plexus, which a lot of people might have not like no have not or noticed that, but didn't notice that like that I should have been shut down. And I knew she was going to go for those. She's really good at that. She had gotten another girl before, and that did shut me down a little bit. But I was able to clinch with her. But my goal was not to clinch with her. So
Yeah.
that's how I ended up losing it from a mental perspective and a control from my perspective. But yeah, so we learned from our losses. I learned a lot, and I think just yeah, those three fights, the last three losses I had, like I think going into those, like I was still going in like I'm ready to go, and I don't see myself making much more mental changes. But I mean, definitely some changes, but not too mentally like, going into the fights. I'm going to be ready.
Was the last fight without a crowd too? I can't even remember now.
No, the last one was in Canada, so it was not. But
Okay.
I guess I must have. I think I jumped in a little too quickly. I should have taken a little bit more time to get a little bit more done.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as a career, right? I mean, you've only been stopped once by way of strikes, which I think is a great notch on the belt, right? The fact that a fighter can be durable, I think that's always a good thing to commend. When you look at the last fight, right, and something like that happens, does it sort of force you to make any changes going forward, or do you think that's just part of the MMA, right? Like you're in there with 4-ounce gloves, right? I mean, crazy stuff is bound to happen sometimes.
Well, anything, yeah, anything, I believe anything can happen, definitely. But I'm the
Yeah.
person that right after the fight ends, I'm sitting in the locker room with my coaches, like, all right, can we talk about it? Can I make some notes? I want like to be writing the notes right away, win or lose. Like I've always been that person because I
Okay.
want to fix whatever occurred or happened that where I went wrong. I don't usually look at it that oh well, she hit me really good. It's I was in the way, my face was there somehow, so I should have been moving, so I didn't get hit. So it's always something that I have done to but it is what it is, and I write my notes and kind of get back to the gym and just get working on it.
Now, as far as the last fight, how would you sort of assess it? Like, what do you think led to it? What do you think went wrong for you?
So yeah, so to start being not, I think mentally I was able to go into it really strong, and then I kind of like hesitated a little bit too much, and I opened myself up. So she ended up getting a nice, I think it was a cross to my face, which I reacted a certain way. And I think that was also based off of the past injuries I've had, like the nose breaking and not
Okay.
maybe getting back in too quickly without like really getting ready to, because the adrenaline rush that happens, like you can't really control the reaction at that point because you're in the cage, and that all that adrenaline that's flowing, you don't really
Yeah.
get that in training. So that was one thing that I was like, oh man, all right, got to work on that. So yeah.
Was it kind of like a shock, right? Because you're coming out of a pandemic where, again, you bring it up, you're not really competing in front of a crowd. It's got to be a little bit of a shock when you're back in there, right? It's like, whoa, like look at the people out there, right? Or no?
Not really. I feel like kind of get not in tunnel vision, but you get in this zone, like you're kind of focused on you and the person in front of you, and that's
Sure.
it. So with the crowd, without the crowd, I know people after some of my fights in the past are like, "Did you hear me yelling? Did you hear me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't really hear. Maybe you kind
Yeah.
of hear one or two things, but you're really like in that zone where you're focused on what's in front of you.
It's interesting because every time I ask a fighter that, or most, I guess, because everyone's different, it seems to be a very common answer, that one. Like you're just in the zone, right? Like when you're going out there, right? Is it kind of like you're in a bubble? Like you're just everything is here, you're looking straight, you're not even focused on any of that stuff. Is that's how it is the whole way? Like even from the time you come out of the locker room to the time you step in the cage, there's just not a moment's notice of acknowledging even the crowd, right? It's all just focused on the goal at hand, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said too, every fighter has probably that same thing. But I know that some fighters like to come out with like they really need that energy, and then some people they're really calm and they're dancing. So I think that's still like you're still mentally focused, even though you look like you're saying hi to the crowd. But yeah, I definitely think that everybody like they're really in the zone.
Where do you think you fall on that spectrum as far as when you're coming out of, is it like in your head, oh, I need to kill her? Is it all right, let's just have fun and have fun and the results will come?
Yeah, it's kind of funny about one of the things, like I have a very high energy. I'm like a go 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 person. And in the beginning of the first couple of fights, I had like songs that were slow paced and then they would just go, and that was like my thing. Now I'm kind of like, let me just keep it like really chill and slow because I want to calm my brain down and get really mentally focused versus like be like, oh my god, I'm so excited, and go run in there and then just like get hit and be like, oh no, what happened? But I think at the end of the day, like nobody wants to go 5 minute rounds or anything. They want to go in there and finish the person and be done with it.
Absolutely. And as far as, MMA, there's a lot of ways to go about it, so many disciplines, so many things to drill. Where you are at this stage in the game, right? I mean, anyone that, even doing things that you love, you do for so long, maybe eventually it gets a little boring. Not saying that's the case for you. But as far as excitement, which martial art, which practice sort of excites you the most to do nowadays? Like which one excites you as far as when you get in the gym? What are you looking forward to drilling the most?
So I'm mixed. I think so I do everything at all times.
Okay.
So I think right now I've been playing around though with like some stunt work, like potentially I'd hope to like be an extra in the background or something like that. So it's the flashy stuff, but it's not necessarily the flashy stuff that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna definitely throw this in a fight. Because I've always been like a very much like a straight, like I want to punch you with my straight jab right to the point. I want to make it so that you can't get around this. I mean, it can look really cool, but I'm getting the job done. So I think now I feel like I've been playing with a lot more of the flashy stuff. And who knows, maybe I will throw it in my next fight, but
Yeah. And as far as the stunts, I saw that on your Instagram. I heard you say it just now. Is that something you like to do?
Yeah, it's definitely something I like to do. There's a gym here in Connecticut that they focus on that. They also do jujitsu at that gym and a whole bunch of other stuff. The only problem is when you're dedicated to something, you have to dedicate a lot of yourself to it. So it's hard for
Sure.
me to go and like not go to my normal jujitsu or my MMA or boxing classes so I can do some stunt stuff, even though it's very similar. So I have to just kind of balance that. So that's where I'm at right now for that.
Now this is interesting because I don't really know anyone who's into the stunts and that kind of stuff. As far as stunts, what is it? It would be for like movies and things like that, or
Yeah, so even just I was actually lucky to be just an extra in one of the like a local movie that was being held where I was in the boxing ring, kind of just getting beat up in the
okay.
background. So you know, stuff like that got me like real excited about like watching the stunt doubles and people that are doing the stunts. I'm like, oh my God, all these fighting scenes, you know, I'm skilled in those areas. Like in
Yeah.
like long term, you know, I'm not gonna be able to get in the cage forever. So it'd be great to be able to work my way up, you know, your 40s, 50s, 60s, and maybe still do stunts, and that'd be really cool.
Wow, so there is a correlation, right? Because I never actually thought about it, but like, you're stunt double until you have to take a punch in a movie, right? I mean, who better to be able to sell that than someone who takes punches for a living, right?
Yeah, and they pay you to be a stunt double, you know. So, but yeah, you gotta. It's still a small world, and there's a lot of work. Like you know, the punches aren't gonna look the same. Like you gotta kind of
Right.
sell it a lot more. So,
Pull it, kind of, yeah.
yeah, I'm really not. I'm like I'm getting closer, but I got a long ways to go with that stuff. So, and there's camera angles. There's a lot to work on.
Curious, let's say you go into a day where you're doing stunt training or whatever. Like, what does that look like, sort of?
Well, you're on a set for a movie, so your whole day is dedicated to that. You might be sitting around the whole time. Oh, sorry, for training, you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you meant if you're like a stunt double, sorry.
Oh, no
So yeah,
worries.
for the training, like the most recent one I did, I actually was working on falling. So it's a bunch of pads and there's a bunch of bars and people are doing some backflips over there and some people are doing something over here. There's a trampoline and I'm getting taught on how to fall properly, how to sell it, how to make it look real. And then how to not get hurt during it. So
Listen, I mean, stunts, fighting, surfing, snowboarding, you cover the whole spectrum of like, exciting, but also things that not a lot of people would like. It takes a certain character to do those things, right? Like not everyone, not a random person saying, I'll go snowboarding, right? Like you got to be an adventurous, almost daring person, I would say. Like, have you always been like this?
yeah, I feel like I like that adrenaline kind of rush, you know, going off a jump snowboarding, like, ooh, it's getting exciting, or jumping in the ocean. I have learned my lesson with snowboarding. I don't really go off many jumps and I don't really do too many rails anymore. A couple of falls took me out. And to be honest, I went really like down the family trail, really basic, and I just slipped and separated the shoulder. So that took me out for 2 years or a year for actually getting my fights
Oh,
because you know,
damn.
got to recover. So now I still go, but I'm a little more smart with that.
Sure,
I
definitely.
can't. Surfing is a little different. You know, you get smashed by a wave, you better survive. That's all you can do.
What if you get eaten by a shark?
Well, that I hope will never happen. That would really suck. I don't know if I'll ever fight again if I ever got or surf again if I got bit or eaten by a shark.
I gotta say, I love the ocean. I love the water. Surfing seems like a fun idea. I used to like skateboard when I was a kid. Not that it's relevant, but it seems fun. The only thing is sharks. That's what scares the hell out of me. I mean, man, that's. But when you go surfing, right? Where do you go? Because you said that obviously you don't live in an area to go surfing. You got to go somewhere to do that. What kind of places are you going to do that?
So I go to Westerly, Rhode Island. It's nice up there. It's about an hour and a half from me. And then I like to go to Jersey a lot. My family travels to Wildwood, New Jersey, at the bottom near Cape May area.
Okay.
In Wildwood, it's great because there's a boardwalk area and you can walk right down. And the guys down there are really cool. And you can rent a surfboard. I could drag mine all the way down there, but it's a lot. It's a long. It's about a 6 hour, 5 hour drive for me. So I'm like, I'll just rent one, support them, and you go right in the ocean, surf. I could surf all week.
I didn't even know that there were waves, I guess, big enough to surf in New Jersey. That's awesome.
Yeah, Wildwood's got a huge beach too. There's like never gonna be and you don't have to pay to be on it, which is nice.
Have you ever been to like Hawaii or anything like that to surf, or maybe like California?
No, oh yeah, San Diego a couple of times. I've surfed in San Diego. A friend of mine, my training partner, Missy, said she was in Hawaii, but she said it was almost a mile to get out to where the good surfers were, and she's like, I
Oh,
can't swim that far. She was a lifeguard.
I would refuse because of sharks. I would refuse to swim that far, but that's just yeah. So listen, one more question, and we really do appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on. Let me ask you, as far as this year, right? Do you have any, I guess, any goals as far as mixed martial arts? Anything you want to accomplish? Obviously, winning the fights pretty standard, right? That's the goal, right? But like, do you have any goals as far as improving on stuff? As any personal milestones? Anything?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my gym, you know, it's a martial arts gym in general, but we do like kali stick and knife fighting. We do that's a part of why I'm like a top player. I feel like I always want to control the fight, straight to the point, get the job done, because I'm thinking more of like I'm in the street and someone's attacking me. So that is a lot of what I've been also playing around with. I really want to get more focused on combining all of my arts together. So whenever I get in the cage, I go back into that. All right, I'm fighting this person. What's wrong? Like, why can't I visualize that person being like they're attacking me with a knife? Because then I'm gonna hit them way earlier, not be like thinking about things. So I guess that's my goal this year, is to really combine the mental aspect of all the elements. You know, like I'm in jujitsu, I'm gonna do a jujitsu match, but I don't have to just like be in their guard. I can push on them, I can put pressure, I can do all kinds of different things that aren't illegal that I just maybe didn't think about, because I'm thinking, oh, that's only for this this art versus this art. So that's my goal, I think, this year, is to really combine everything, and then hopefully I get a chance to get in the cage this year and prove it and show everybody like where I'm at. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. That's great. And then, yeah, as far as the knife stuff, I mean, just to not, we're wrapping up here, but not even a question. I'm just more of an observation, right? What you guys do, I think that's actually pretty smart, right? Because a lot of times things that happen in the cage aren't really realistic to like a street fight. If you were to get jumped or something, right? I'm sure you've heard that before. And I mean, well, a lot of things are, but I'm sure there's certain things that aren't. Like if you're gonna grapple with somebody in a street fight, you don't know if they have a knife, right? So maybe the best thing to do would be to run. You know what I mean? Like there's not always a smart thing to do, is just to engage. So I think that's a smart thing you guys are teaching, because that could be a realistic situation, right? Like maybe somebody comes at you with a knife one day. What are you gonna do?
Well, the easiest one is I'm not going to wait for you to throw the first punch in the fight, because if I've been training knife stuff and you have a knife, I'm not going to wait for you to go and throw your knife first, because if you stab me, I'm dead. So I'm going to be the aggressor, and I'm going to use a lot of footwork with that one. That's probably the difference, the main
Yeah,
difference.
definitely. And I think this stuff's important, and that's something I didn't know. So I think anybody could take a lesson out of that. And listen, that's going to conclude the time for today. Jessy, thanks for coming on the show. We do appreciate the time. Enjoyed the little talk, and we're looking forward to see what's in store for you this year and above.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. And thanks for the nice backdrop, by the way.
Cool. Thanks.
Take care.
Have a good one.